Welcome to another exciting and informative episode of Through Black Eyes Unfiltered. I'm Dr. Raymond Dunn.
And I'm Dr. Marvin Dunn.
And today we will be discussing the crisis at the Supreme Court. Bruh, the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, equal to the other two triads of the government. Why would the Supreme Court, bruh, be in crisis? What's going on?
The court is in crisis because our country is in crisis. You know, throughout my lifetime, I've always felt that the U.S. Supreme Court was the ultimate sanctuary.
I did too.
At least the U.S. Supreme Court will protect us from the intrusion of government. I always relied on that feeling as an American citizen. I don't have that anymore.
Me either.
My confidence in the court has been shaken to the core because of what I see happening right now. Our court, as you said, Ray, the highest court in the land, is now trying to find excuses to allow a former president to claim unlimited immunity. It's outrageous that the court would even be considering this question. It was dismissed at the district court level. The appellate court made it very clear in a unanimous opinion that this was wrong. And here comes the U.S. Supreme Court parsing out this question and avoiding answering it.
Exactly.
You know, there are a few times in our history, Ray, when the U.S. Supreme Court needs to be unanimous, where there needs to be no wiggle room. One of those times, for example, was on the Brown decision in 1954 that led to desegregating the schools in our country. Suppose the court had split on that. You'd have racists in Mississippi and Alabama and Florida saying, well, it's not totally settled. Some members said it was all right. Sometimes the court needs to speak with one voice. And right now, they're too timid and too politicized to do that. You have, in my view, the most sane voice on that court is Justice Jackson.
And why is that in your view?
Because she made the most important point to be made. Which was, why don't we answer the question in front of us? Why are we talking about hypothetical situations with presidents in the future? Why are you going there? Why don't we answer the question in front of us? The question is, are these specific acts by this particular former president protected? That's the question. And I so admire this woman for her intelligence, her ability to be concise, to go to these issues, and she made the most cogent comment during the whole proceedings. I think what's going to happen, Ray, is that the court will wimp out. Trump will not be given unlimited immunity, but he doesn't need to win on that level to win this case. Any wiggle room that the U.S. Supreme Court leaves this president and future presidents to believe that they have immunity for from acts they commit during the course of their presidency.
Exactly.
That's not going to happen. I don't think he's not going to have that. But all he needs to do is have some few of them say, well, there may be some acts in private that would be, just leave wiggle room enough for the light of corruption and criminality to seep into the Oval Office, as it surely will again. And this country will be in a bigger mess than ever. So I cannot depend upon the Supreme Court to solve this problem for us. The court has a kind of protection that it should have. What we think politically about the court shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter. But for the first time in my lifetime, I can say that the U.S. Supreme Court is a political arm of the Republican Party.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. My problem with the Supreme Court is it is as plain as ABC. The Supreme Court is to rule on the Constitution. The Constitution is supposed to guide the Supreme Court. Where are they as far as the Constitution is concerned? The Constitution says no one is above the law. How do you start making exceptions? No one is above the law.
How do you start making exceptions? When you have a tyrant, a dictator, become president, and he tries by force to remain president, and then gets himself in criminal trouble for his actions. That's how it's come to this. We've had 47 presidents. No other president has ever had to consider whether what he did in office was going to lead to criminal prosecutions once he left the presidency. This is a new thing created because we have a criminal president, former president, who was and is a criminal.
And to think that the Supreme Court could be influenced by a former president. I don't give a hoot if he did appoint most of them. I don't care. Once you get appointed as a justice on the Supreme Court, it is a lifetime appointment. Whoever appointed you cannot do anything about your decisions. You are there, lifetime. Why are they letting Trump influence them?
Well, consider how these people that Trump appointed got on the court through the Federalist Society.
Yeah.
The Federalist Society told Trump who to appoint to the court, and they knew what kind of positions these people would take. So I don't think he will win on the question of absolute immunity. He will win at some level by having the court be split on the very question. I think the case will be settled by the Chief Justice, who is an institutionalist, who has no owings to Donald Trump, and who I think believes in the rule of law. So I expect that the split on the court will be solved by the Chief Justice deciding against Trump's claim.
Bro, I take issue with you on that.
Why?
Because if the Chief Justice was acting in a position of Chief Justice, and I don't mean that he has the authority to dictate to other justices what they do.
Yeah.
But if you are the Chief Justice, forever in our history, that court will be called your court, will it not?
Well, yeah.
The court is the Chief Justice's court. And this is what he did during his term. This Chief Justice is the one who's letting all of these things happen. He's the one.
What do you think you should do?
He's letting them stray away from the Constitution. I think that he needs to bring them back to the Constitution. He needs to bring them back to just what you just said, Justice Jackson said.
You'll never hear.
We're not dealing with hypothetical.
No, you'll never hear in a public hearing before the Supreme Court one justice criticize another or limit what a justice has to say. They do that in private. So don't expect nobody to hear that.
No, do it in private.
How do you know he's not doing that in private?
Because it's evident that he is not, because they're all over the place.
Well,
they are not dealing directly with the
overreacting.
Constitution. They're dealing with the political outcome of what former President Trump did.
But fine. But don't go over the top about what the Chief Justice can do. Each of those people are equally of status on that court. The Supreme Court Chief Justice is not going to limit any other justice's comments, nor should he or she do that.
I'm not suggesting that.
And we can't know what they discuss in private.
What about Justice Thomas? Clarence Thomas.
Justice who?
Justice who? Should he have recused himself? Should he be sitting there today?
His wife,
on this court?
His wife was out there with the January 6th rioters. His wife was out there. She has connections to the people who were trying to take over the government by force.
And he's sitting there.
And he's still sitting there, will not recuse himself. Should he recuse himself? Yes. Will he do that? No. Is there anything that anybody can do about the fact that he will not step aside? No. We can get angry at Clarence, but we can't do anything about that. As you said earlier, Supreme Court justices are protected, as they should be. Just because I really don't like Clarence. I don't like him at all. But
we agree on something.
All right. But, he's not going to do that. He's not going to recuse. He's going to stay right there. His wife, I'm sure, tells him what to think and what to do. There's no way I could believe that woman is not totally in his ear on every issue that comes before the court that she wishes to speak to him on. So it's a sick situation. Another one of the reasons why the confidence in the court is shaken today, because of this one individual who's brought it down so low.
So given what we just discussed, even if we disagree on some of it, what do you think the outcome of the decision of the court is going to be as it relates to former President Donald Trump?
Well, the outcome will be exactly what Trump wants, because it will delay this trial until after the election. That's his main goal, and that's going to happen, and the Supreme Court is allowing that. Remember, Ray, the Supreme Court can speak overnight. when it chooses to do so. Remember the Bush v. Gore issue that been a matter of a day or two.
Of course.
So they will not answer this question quickly because they don't wish to.
Exactly.
So Trump has won.
We agree.
Yeah, he has won before the U.S. Supreme Court, just by the virtue of having this delay. And that's another reason why Americans are suspicious and are losing confidence in the court, because it's becoming an arm of a political candidate.
By saying that, speak to our audience. How important is it for them to vote this time around, if at no other time around, for the president?
Well, I think in the next presidential term, next 4 years, at least one and possibly two members of the Supreme Court will be retiring, if not dying of natural causes. So the next president's going to get a chance to fill at least one and possibly two seats. That will flip the court away from its current extreme conservative stance to a more moderate view and position, as the American people have a right to expect. So if Trump becomes president, he will not only consolidate the conservative majority on the court, he will expand it beyond the capacity of any future president for the next, I'd say, 4 or 5 terms to regain balance on the court.
And that is your future outlook for the Supreme Court.
Yes, but I think that Biden will win the presidency. I think he will appoint 1 or 2 new justices, and I think the country, through those justices, will become a more moderate country, and we'll move away from the extremism that we see has poisoned the Supreme Court itself.
So somewhere down the road, you see a light of hope.
Well, yes.
Biden wins. Trump loses the Supreme Court. Next 2 selections made by a Democratic president, and eventually over several other terms, you can see the court becoming balanced again.
We are still that city on the. How was it put? The city on the shining hill.
City, the light on top of the hill.
Put another way,
the shining light on the hill.
Put another way, we are still the light of the world. And that's really true. That's not a statement of bragging, but we are the light of the world in terms of human freedom and in terms of democracy. That's us. And I think that we've lost some respect in the world because we have allowed Trumpism, frankly, to emerge as what people see as America, and that's not us. So, yes, I'm hopeful. I see us as the great country that we are. I think that right now we're going through a stage that will pass, and we will come back to be a great country again.
You and I agree somewhat on that. Not fully, but we agree. I think that America is the greatest country in the world. I think that our light has dimmed a little bit from the things that we're going through right now, but we are the greatest country in the world.
But you know, Ray, just to add a point to that, for a long time I believed in this whole thing of American exceptionality. The other countries do that stuff, not us. Other countries have dictators. Not us. We are the exception.
I thought so too.
No, we're not. Yep. We're just like any other country. We're just as subject to the foibles of authoritarianism and despots and all the rest of it. We're not protected. There's nothing exceptional about us that makes us a safer country from authoritarianism.
But that's not a very good ending point, but it's good enough. And with that, that's a wrap.